In this video, we are going to rank every single glove and or gauntlet item in Fortnite history. And these are weapons that, yes, are literally gloves, such as the grapple glove or Spider-Man's web shooters or something like the Magneto power. They are all gloves that you put on your hands and that's how you use them in the game. I do want to mention that there will be no Thanos and no Absolute Doom gauntlets. Those gauntlets are absolutely busted. I mean, they're meant to be broken, meant to be the best in the game, and they obviously would be at the #1 spot, so they're not going to be here. As well as this, as always, no LTM exclusives. Massive credit to Chili Willy over at our Discord. If you guys want to join the Discord, go talk and be part of our community. The link will be in the description of this video and in my bio here on YouTube. He came up with this idea, so all credit to him for this. I really appreciate that. Be sure to use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop if you want to support my channel here and the videos I make on YouTube. And yeah, let's get right into this. At the number 16 spot, the worst gauntlet item / glove item in Fortnite history is the cloaking gauntlets, that being Wildcard Relics cloaking gauntlets. So yeah, this is, if I remember correctly, Chapter 4, Season 3 territory, and it's pretty simple, right? Cloaking devices, those items just don't work in Fortnite. We've seen it time and time again. We are now seeing it in Chapter 5, Season 4 with Mysterio's Stealth Medallion, just very clearly the worst medallion in the game. It's so bad that people don't even pick it up. They just leave it in the Doom stat. And yeah, these are no exception. Absolutely terrible. Nobody was going to take these. The only argument I can see for taking this is that Chapter 4, Season 3 had a very heavy, dense jungle biome, so you may be able to kind of blend in and hide in that jungle biome, but everywhere else, totally useless. And so you shouldn't be surprised at the number 15 spot that I'm going to go with Predator's cloaking device. The Predator was such a hyped up collab for Chapter 2, Season 5. He was the secret skin that season, if I remember correctly. Everybody was so excited, like, what mythic are we going to get for the Predator? And we ended up getting this terrible cloaking device. Again, I'm not going to go on and on about this. I literally just ripped into cloaking devices for like a whole minute straight. So you guys know why I don't like the cloaking items in Fortnite. They're just not good. You're just way too visible. I don't care how invisible it actually looks. You can hear somebody activating it. You can hear somebody deactivating it. For most of the cloaking items, you can't even sprint while using them. It's just brutal all around. But anyways, at the number 14 spot is another Chapter 4 Season 3 item. That's the kinetic boomerang. And on the surface, you may actually not think that this is even a glove item in the first place, but when you actually pick up the kinetic boomerang, your character puts on the glove that is attached to the boomerang. So yes, it is included in this list. But honestly, I probably could have left it out. It wouldn't have made that much of a difference. The kinetic boomerang was not great. Not to mention that it was literally disabled for like 3/4 of the entire season. I guess you could do some like kind of unique things, right? Like you could throw it and then go in front of someone's box, and then when it comes back to you, you can kind of get them through the back of their box. You know what I'm saying? It's just really not a great item. Like the recall takes way too long. I think Captain America's shield is like everything that the kinetic boomerang should have been. But yeah, for me, this was an easy choice to be at the bottom of this list. At the number 13 spot are the Howler Claws. So yeah, these were a Chapter 3 item. They were really barely in the game. They're part of the whole like Halloween event. And honestly, it's really nothing against the Howler Claws. It's just that there have been so many better claws that have been in the game that you're going to see on this list that totally outshine these. The one very redeeming quality that the Howler Claws have is actually not even any melee ability at all. It's actually the recon ability. He does like the howl and you get like a little recon, almost like you were using a flare gun or something like that. For that reason, it gets a little bit higher on this list, but everything else, yeah, there's no reason to ever use the Howler Claws. At the number 12 spot are She-Hulk's fists from Chapter 2, Season 4. So now we're starting to turn the clock on this list to some of the items that are actually going to be pretty decent. I'm not saying that they're like good or even great items by any means, but they are decent and you can get yourself a couple kills using them. It is a known fact on this channel that I am not a fan of melee weapons, but She-Hulk's fists are pretty good. If you're able to combo a couple of those melee abilities in a row, I think you can actually do 200 damage. Again, like, was this an ability that I was taking in Chapter 2, Season 4, a season that was absolutely loaded with close quarter weapons like the Spaz shotgun, Stark Industries rifle, all that type of stuff? No way. But if it was like the only thing on the ground and you needed to get a couple kills, yeah, I think you could do decent work with the She-Hulk's fists. And you can basically just replace everything I just said about She-Hulk's fists with Wolverine's claws at the number 11 spot, again from Chapter 2, Season 4. Look, like, I tried to take into account here the fact that Wolverine's claws were really hard to get, like really hard to get, and so I didn't want that to hurt its placement too badly. And again, like you can probably tell, I'm kind of running out of things to say about all these melee weapons. At the core, they are the same item. Like they do have a bunch of combos that you can combo together, a bunch of like, you know, slash attacks with like the Howler Claws, Wolverine's Claws. What I will say is Wolverine's Claws did have a little bit better mobility. If you remember, you had that like jump attack where you would like spin in a circle and go up in the air. I did like the Wolverine Claws for that. But again, just in general, I think we're kind of in this like mid category of weapons where I wouldn't take them if I had literally any other weapon, but if I had nothing, you could still get some kills with them. But at the number 10 spot, we have our first like purely mobility item, and that's the grapple gloves. I think they're like decent, right? Like they're basically just a worse version of Spider-Man's web shooters, and they only have 30 uses, which really holds them back. It just feels really, really clunky to use, and as soon as you get shot while you're using them, you're basically done for. But if you strictly just need to get from point A to point B, the grapple gloves can get it done. I just think that, well, there are better pure mobility items higher up on this list. At the number 9 spot is our most recent addition to this list. It is Shuri's Claws from Chapter 5, Season 4. I actually am pleasantly surprised with how much I've actually liked Shuri's Claws. To me, they feel like such a good combo of not only a melee weapon, but also a really good mobility item. Like that jump shockwave effect can send you really, really far, and it's infinite as long as you keep sprinting, which I absolutely love. And I can't lie, there have been plenty of times where I've been in a box with somebody, they pull out these claws and they give me 3 or 4 swipes and I'm dead. Unfortunately, I think this item just gets kind of overlooked because there are so many great loaded items in this season, especially when you talk about mobility, right? Like the jetpack, Iron Man's combat kit, which of course just got added in, and other really good close quarter weapons, such as like the dual micro subs, right? So it's tough to find a spot in your inventory to hold this, but if I don't have a jetpack or any of those mobility items, I will take Shuri's Claws specifically just for the mobility, not even for the melee aspect of it, which I think is really telling about how diverse this weapon is. Anyways, at the number 8 spot is Iron Man's Repulsor Gauntlets from Chapter 2, Season 4. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to keep this really brief because there's an item that was just added into the game, which I will talk about later on in this video, that has this and the Unibeam combined. So of course that has to be way higher than this. It's really nothing against the Repulsor Gauntlet. It's just there's an item that literally has this and something else combined. I remember people in Chapter 2, Season 4 were going absolutely crazy for the Repulsor Gauntlet. It was like, you get aimbot in the game, which was crazy at the time. But back then, like, there was no zero build, so all you had to do was just build a wall and build a couple ceilings above your head, and this item was basically useless. But all in all, not a bad weapon at all. At the number 7 spot are War Machine's Arsenals from Chapter 5, Season 4. So I was one of the people that when this season came out, immediately I was like, War Machine's Arsenal has to get a nerf. It needs to. It is absolutely busted. And I still do think it is really, really strong, but it needs a jetpack to be that good. Without a jetpack, I think you could make the argument that War Machine's Arsenal actually isn't that good. I mean, the gun portion of it is incredibly inaccurate, and the missiles just essentially fly everywhere. Of course, you got to remember, I am coming from a build player's perspective. I do not play much zero build at all, so that might change the way that I look at some of the things versus how you look at some of the items, which is totally all right. This item just really excels in terms of like putting on pressure. You have so many bullets, essentially unlimited rockets. When you go against somebody who's using War Machine's Arsenal, you can't just turtle up. Like, you are challenged to fight them. You have to go after them, or else they're just going to keep spamming rockets on you. You're going to run out of mats, something like that. And it is an absolute nightmare to try and fight someone who's above you, just hovering, dashing left to right with a jetpack and War Machine's Arsenal on top of you. It's really almost impossible to kill them, actually. At the number 6 spot is the Todoroki Ice Wall Mythic, and I have to explain a little bit on this one because it's kind of confusing. Because I think you could make the argument that in build mode, this is probably one of the worst mythics. It really does nothing. It just basically is like a little porta-fort, essentially. But in zero build, it is a completely different story. I think if you're doing a zero build list only, Todoroki's Ice Wall would have to be probably a top 10, maybe a top 20 mythic of all time. So in terms of like build modes, it is all the way at the bottom of the spectrum, not a great item at all. But in terms of no build, it is all the way at the top, like one of the elites. So you can see why it's kind of tough to rank this. But just because of how much it excels in zero build defensively and as an offensive weapon as well, it is going to get pretty high on this list. Of course, if you don't know, the gameplay will show it. It literally just spawns a big ice wall in front of you for cover. It is an incredibly strong item in zero build. But moving on to the number 5 spot, and I have 2 items here. It's going to be the brand new Iron Man combat kit and the flight kit. I'm putting them together because, as we all know, everybody is using them together. And you might be thinking like, dude, why are you putting them together? They easily could have been separated. And you're right. Yeah, like I probably could have separated these into two separate spots, but honestly, they'd be pretty close to each other anyways, and they would definitely be in the top 50% of this list. So let's start with the combat kit, right? All they did here is they essentially combined two Chapter 2 Season 4 mythics, that being the Unibeam and the Repulsor Gauntlets, which we talked about earlier. The majority of the time when I come across anybody that's using this, they are strictly using the Unibeam. Not many people are using the Repulsor Gauntlets, at least from what I've seen in my fights. Again, I play build mode, so that would make sense, right? In no build, I'm sure it's a whole different story. A lot of people are probably using the Repulsor Gauntlets because they have that aimbot effect, kind of. You know what I'm saying? But the Unibeam has a 20-second charge up time, so you can only use it once, then you have to wait 20 seconds to use it again, and it does 90 damage, so not anything crazy, right? But once you pair it with the flight kit, that is when it becomes incredibly strong, right? Because the main downside of the Unibeam is that you basically stand still for a couple seconds when you're in the air. And yes, once you have the flight kit, you still do that, but you're able to just continuously keep hovering around your opponent, dashing right, left, up, down. You basically can't be hit. The only problem with the flight kit is that once you do get hit, you become an absolute sitting duck. We all know you absolutely spiral into the ground, you hit the ground, and there's like that long animation before you can get up and, let's say, start building again. The reason why this item is so high up is because, one, in terms of mobility, it may be the best item we have ever seen in terms of that. Like, literally, you can fly across the whole map, like, legitimately. To me, when I use this item, it gives me very, very similar flashbacks to the Wings of Icarus from Chapter 5, Season 2. The only problem with Wings of Icarus was the wings became part of your hitbox, whereas in this, it's just you, just your body, that's it. I think individually, they're okay, but once you pair them together, it becomes an incredibly strong combo. If you're playing the game now, you know everybody is running this combo. It's basically kind of plaguing the game. I'm not going to complain about it, though, because I'm using it just like everybody else is. At the number 4 spot is the Magneto Power from Chapter 5, Season 3. So, yeah, this was kind of a hard one to rank because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are maybe saying the Magneto Power should be even higher, maybe in the top 3. And I think you'd probably be able to make that argument. I mean, there was a time where endgames were literally just Magneto Power and Nitro Gloves. That's it. If you didn't have either of those, you were automatically going to lose the game. I mean, not only did you have a infinite ammo weapon that was doing like 95 damage to players, and I think it was like 450 damage to vehicles, you also had a really, really strong shield that would protect you from any bullets for a while, right? It was tough to break that thing. I think the Magneto Power is really, really good, and that is why it's in the top echelon of this list. I just think that the rock or like the attack recharge speed was really slow. So if you did not use those rocks effectively, there's a chance that you could just be kind of a sitting duck, kind of get stuck there. But at the number 3 spot, I just mentioned it talking about the Magneto Power. It was the item that was always paired with the Magneto Power. It is the Nitro Fists from Chapter 5, Season 3, of course. So yeah, as you guys all know, the Nitro Fists were the main mobility item of this season, and they were absolutely incredible. I think the thing that to me like really sticks out about the Nitro Fists is how fast you could dash from right to left and forward and backwards or go up using the jump attack. Like, you were such a difficult target to hit in the air using the Nitro Fist, and you guys all know that, right? If you ever played a good player, especially in Zero build, who's zigzagging right and left using Nitro Fist, it's impossible to hit them. On the launch day of Chapter 5, Season 3, I'd make the argument that these should be at the number 1 spot, but they got nerfed a ton since then. Of course, I've mentioned it a couple times in this video, but pair them with the Magneto Power, and you really do kind of have like a free win. And obviously, like, I'm not even thinking about the melee aspect of the Nitro Fist. I'm just talking about the mobility part of it, right? Like, I kind of forget that there was a melee portion to the Nitro Fist. Just overall, a really good weapon. At the number 2 spot, though, just beating out the Nitro Fist, in my opinion, from Chapter 5, Season 4, are Doombot's Arcane Gauntlets. So yeah, just like we saw with the combat kit this season, they took multiple mythics from Chapter 2, Season 4, and put them into one. So they put Dr. Doom's Mystical Bomb and his Arcane Gauntlets, they put them in one. That is now Doombot's Arcane Gauntlet. I do just think there's a really big caveat with this weapon, and it's essentially that you need to have mobility or a jetpack for it to be unreal. If you have a jetpack or even shockwaves using the Arcane Gauntlet, they are unstoppable. They are probably, in my opinion, the best mythic in the entire season. I can't tell you the amount of times where I'll throw a shockwave at my feet, jump up, go flying into the air above them, and then pop a mystical bomb, drop it down on them, 90 damage to each player. Oh, and you also have unlimited Arcane Gauntlets. Of course, they like overheat, but once they overheat, just switch back to the Mystical Bomb and use that. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't just be spamming the Arcane Gauntlet and the Mystical Bomb. You don't need to to stop at all. It's incredible. But again, like, it's really, really pending that you have those mobility items, because without the mobility items, I don't think this item is that great. So yeah, like, maybe I have contradicted myself a little bit in this video, but still, I do think this item is a top tier gauntlet item we've ever seen. But at the number 1 spot, look, I don't think anyone is going to be surprised by this choice. It is the Spider-Man web shooters, and I'm going to put the Spider-Verse web shooters in here too. They are the exact same thing. Again, like, this was the reason why I made this video. Like, the first thing that came into my head when I thought of this idea and I saw it on Discord immediately was Spider-Man web shooters. They're going to be at the number 1 spot. I really don't think that there should be any debate here. In terms of, like, overall just straight mobility based items, no attacks, no nothing, I think there's an argument that this is the best we've ever seen. I obviously, like, don't want to spend too much time on it because I have spoken about this weapon in so many different videos that you guys all really know at this point what I think about this item. Like, it's just so good for everything. If somebody's shooting at you, you want to get away, just go tree to tree, grapple, get the hell out of here, right? If you hear shots and you want a third party, in 2 seconds, you can get there instantly. If I remember correctly, you had something like, what, was it 60 uses, 70 uses? Like, just so many uses, and these things were everywhere. So it was never like you were going to use 60 and not have another one of them. You could find them everywhere. And again, obviously, all the same for the Spider-Verse web shooters. These came back in, I think, Chapter 4, Season 2, I want to say. Only in that season, there was Connect Blades, ODM gear, so it was a little bit less clear which one you were going to take. Still, I believe the Spider-Man web shooters are easy number 1 choice on this list. No doubt about that. So yeah, that is my ranking for every single gauntlet slash glove style item in Fortnite history. Thanks again to my Discord for suggesting this, and everybody who was in there that was helping rank these items. I really appreciate it. Again, go join that Discord if you want to be part of our community over there. I stop by every once in a while to talk with you guys, so it's a super good time. With that all being said, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.